Hi everyone, and welcome to this webinar on information security for all employees and the news in 2025 edition. We're really excited that we have so many registered participants for this webinar, where we're going to go through some of the new stuff in next year's edition. With us today, we have Geir Aasen, CISO at Junglemap. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hanna Rönnqvist, Content Specialist. Welcome. And Donia Kilian, Custom Success Manager at Junglemap as well. Great to have you with us today, and you're going to guide us through this webinar. We are quite a few registered participants, so please ask your questions, raise questions or inputs in the Q&A feed, and we're going to try to respond to them as we go along in this. And if we don't have time, or if things pop up afterwards, please don't hesitate to reach out to us after this webinar. We will also record this and share the recording both with you and everyone who is registered to this, and so you can share it within your organization as well if you want. Well, today we're going to talk about the 2025 edition from three perspectives: content, learning, and functionality. And I think it's a good idea if we start off by try to focus on what are we up against? What are the challenges? What is the cybersecurity trends that we need to deal with? And I think that we all know, and there's no news in this really, but I think that we all have seen news like this throughout the year, a constant growth and increase in the number of attacks of various kinds. And Geir, if I turn to you, being CISO here at Junglemap, what is your take on this, the image that we look at right now?
Yes, thank you, Per. Happy to be here. So it's a lot of things happening in the world right now, as you can see some examples. And as an introduction to our new ISA for 2025, I will try to say something about the trends that we have in cybersecurity today, and what organizations should be aware of. And as you see, almost daily, there are reports of data breaches, ransomware attacks, and sensitive information being leaked. I want to look into one of these examples, as you can see on the screen, the cyber attack on MGM Resort in 2023. For those that don't know, MGM Resort is one of the world's largest casino operators, perhaps familiar to those who have been to Las Vegas. The attack began with social engineering, where an attacker tricked a help desk employee into resetting a password without proper verification. The technique used here is known as phishing or voice phishing, and it uses social engineering and impersonation to trick unsuspected victims into giving up sensitive information. This also illustrates a growing trend of attackers not hacking into system, but rather logging in with stolen or compromised credentials. So businesses are facing increasingly sophisticated cybersecurity threats, and research shows that the majority of such incidents are caused or enabled by human error. This points to the need for a more holistic approach to cybersecurity, which includes technology, processes, and employee awareness. The global spending on information security is estimated to reach $212 billion in 2025. which is an increase of 15% according to Gartner. So it's a lot of money that are put into to secure our system. But despite advanced security systems, the number and scale of cyber attacks is also increasing. And as I said, human error remains the biggest vulnerability. We all know that no one wants to be the one who caused a cyber attack to happen. So employees in organization therefore play a vital role in cybersecurity. And in 2025, there are many trends, but I want to highlight 5 key trends today. So the first one is increasing use of artificial intelligence. AI is being used by criminals to make phishing operations more credible by generating fake messages, images, or videos that seem convincing. AI also enables cyber attacks to be automated and spread more efficiently than before. But AI can also be used to detect threats earlier, analyze behavioral patterns, and automate security processes. Employees should therefore be familiar with AI techniques and how AI can be used safely. Secondly, we have phishing attacks and social engineering. By 2025, phishing is expected to become even more customized, using data collected from social media and public sources. Employees need to be extra cautious with emails and messages that appears trustworthy, especially if they ask for sensitive information. Spear phishing is a targeted attack method where attackers study the victim's behavioral patterns to trick them into giving up sensitive information. Compared with phishing, is less sophisticated and often targets a large number of recipients. Attacks usually start with social engineering, such as employee trustingly but mistakenly giving away password. That will continue to be a threat. Employees need to be aware of such attacks and how they can impact their business. Third thing I want to highlight is zero trust and access restrictions. Zero trust principle assumes that no user or device is automatically trusted. This means that employees will experience stricter authentication, such as multi-factor authentication, and the need to verify access more frequently. Employees need to understand why such security protocols are necessary to minimize the risk of data attacks. Next thing I want to mention is securing mobile devices. Many employees work on mobile devices, which is a potential gateway for cyber threats. They should be aware of risks such as using insecure networks and phishing attempts on mobile platforms. And the fifth topic I want to highlight is cloud security. Organizations are increasingly moving their operations to the cloud, and employees need to understand the importance of secure logging methods and proper data management. Lack of attention to cloud security can lead to data leaks. So if you are going back to the example that I mentioned, the MGM resort, so what were actually the consequences of that attack? Well, guests experienced problems with slot machines, cash machines, digital key cards, payment systems, and online reservations, pretty much all their digital infrastructure. The attack caused a direct loss of $100 million on the company's results immediately after the incident, when they had to shut down the systems and restore operations. And also probably they have significant financial and reputational consequences for the company. By proper awareness, this kind of cyber attacks can be stopped by the human firewall. Training of human behavior in cybersecurity is about creating a preventive effect that everyone gains knowledge of well-known methods to uncover this. But training and awareness also have a proactive effect that we as humans are able to assess, take precautions for the unknown, and the ability to uncover completely new methods. One-time training is not sufficient given the rapidly evolving the threat world we are experiencing now. I think that highlighted some trends that we have been looking into while we have developed and now ready to launch the new ISO 2025.
Thank you, Geir. I think also that probably many organizations following this webinar is also kind of struggling and getting familiar with NIS2 and DORA and other EU directives. And you mentioned that this complex threat and this complex threat landscape, we need to have both technique, processes, and training in place. What would you say our training, our courses could play? What role can they play in trying to be NIS2 compliant or trying to adhere towards the EU directives? Where do we fit in?
Yeah, it's a good point. So there's several new regulations and standards coming now from especially the EU. Like you mentioned, NIS2 and DORA, and they of course put some requirements to the critical infrastructure and also the financial sector for DORA. But one thing that all these regulations are highlighting, which should be a top priority for all organizations, is cybersecurity awareness.
So regardless,
because there is a human element in all these platforms and complexity of systems and access controls and supply chain vulnerabilities. So there's always a human element there, and all of these highlights the need for awareness training, and that is what we can offer, a kind of a platform and content to help organization be compliant with these regulations.
Yeah, good. And so let's dive into that, Hanna. The complexity that Geir is talking about now, how is that taken care of in our new 2025 edition?
Since social engineering has become more and more important in cyber security in general, we have lifted that to a specific lesson. For example, now social engineering is involved in pretty much all of the attacks we go through, but we really wanted to put extra stress on this importance. We go through different common tactics and how attackers gain our trust by using our most common channels that we use for communicating with our colleagues or loved ones, and our learned behaviors that we use every day. For example, we try to put extra focus, for example, on QR code phishing or quishing, also called, that has become an increased attack bigger attack vector lately, and how we should treat QR codes, for example, because we are so used to everything from restaurant menus to museums, flyers, posters. Yeah. So that's one example. Also, Geir mentioned AI that is influencing pretty much every field within IT right now. And we have, of course, like last year, we have a separate lesson about it, but we also bring up AI everywhere where it's relevant for the cause. So that's part of how me and Geir have been working very closely on the content of this course to make sure that we have everything that is.
Yeah. So new content mirroring what's happening, but we also have new techniques. We have tweaked our learning technique a little bit, haven't we?
Yes, we have actually. Junglemap is always focused on the 3 R's that we call them, like repetition, repetition, reflection, and reinforcement. And the repetition has up until now mainly been a repetition quiz that's been distributed 3 times over the year. But we have tried to lift the repetition part into the lesson through user dilemmas that brings up subject from a previous lesson to sort of force the users to use their knowledge and actually practically focus on what should I do in this situation.
So if you compare, I think dilemmas might be a new concept to many. If you compare the advantages in using real case dilemmas compared to a more of a knowledge quiz, what are the differences and what are the pros of using dilemmas?
The pros of the dilemmas we're using right now is that, for one, many of them are a tiny bit more complex. There may be, for example, several correct answers, or some answers are partly correct and partly incorrect. So you really need to focus on what you would do in this situation. And also you get immediate feedback where you can actually read on how you should reason and what is the reasoning behind the correct answer. So you get an immediate feedback instead of just right or wrong response.
Some organizations need also use our courses and need to have a sort of check in the box for compliance, meaning that our employees have gone through this, they have the knowledge needed. How does this dilemma technique fit into that?
This is more of a learning technique, but we have kept the repetition quizzes. They are still in the course. But if a customer, for example, want to remove these, add an extra quiz at the end or similar, we have that possibility. And Donia will tell us more about that and how you can tailor the course to your organization's specific needs. One other learning example, actually, that is new for this year is that we also have real life scenarios, events that have taken place to illustrate what can happen actually if we click that link or if we lose that important USB key with information that really shouldn't be there, etc. Real life events, ransomware attacks that has happened over the recent years.
Good. And not only new techniques, but we also have made quite a revamping of illustrations, right? Can you tell us and show us?
Yeah, I hope so. We have decided to, instead of using stock photo images that we have over the years, we have been working together with an illustration company that have helped us to create our own images to better illustrate the content of the lesson. Instead of trying to find a good illustration of ransomware, for example, we can now create a suitable picture. So I mean, they're not super advanced, and that's not the focus of the lessons. It's just the image is supposed to support the learning content, but we think this will be a good pedagogical addition to make the courses easier to read and capture.
Yeah, when I look at what you're sharing now on the screen, I think one of the beauties about this is that they really highlight in a simple way, as you said, highlight and emphasizes what the content is about, right?
We hope so. We've been putting a lot of work in it, so we hope that it will be appreciated and help the users to better grasp the content.
I'm sure that this will come as a good update for many who has been using our courses for some time. Okay, thank you, Hanna. I think that Donia, when it comes to the structure, we have made some changes to increase flexibility, right, without losing our method. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
This year's version it's still like supports, of course, our baseline, which is to change behavior. You have to take lessons over time. You have to repeat, and you should never stop, really, because even if people start to change their behavior, then they will lose that behavior because it's more difficult to have multi-factor and difficult passwords and so on. So people tend to regress. But what's good with the training this year, I think, it's slightly fewer lessons. Instead of having a standalone manager lesson, which has been a bit difficult for some organizations to identify who and how and so on, we have a manager template which should be emailed beforehand, which is very, very, very good. And of course, it's the thing with the knowledge test and the relevant questions / dilemmas that come back, and that you can actually select if you want to have knowledge tests involved inside the course, or if you want it at the end for compliance, or so you have a lot more flexibility how to use the training. So I think that is very good.
And I mean, you work and have been working quite some time with numbers of different organizations using our services. Could you elaborate a little bit on if you're new watching this webinar and you're just going to start, or if you've been doing this a couple of years, is there any differences, general differences that you could recommend?
Let me share my screen to show this year's course. And I have to move. Oops, sorry. So, for administrators about this training, really important information and good templates in there, how to explain to all the staff what is coming, when is it coming, and so on, and also the letter, if you want to call it that, for the manager. You can see that after 6 lessons, there is a repetition quiz, so that's the knowledge test. And then after 11 lessons, there is another repetition quiz. Now, I would say for a very new customer, keep them in the schedule, because it is actually one more possibility to measure for you. What knowledge do we have at this moment in time? Okay, we've had a few lessons. This is the first time we've done it. We send out a lesson either according to recommendation every 3 weeks, or we are much, much more in a hurry, so we need to do it every 14 days. That works as well, of course. It depends on your particular needs, and you work that together with your CSM. But then also, what I think is great, of course, it's that if I go through this training, I will get a recap to the previous training lesson. Okay, so how much do I remember? And also some of those dilemmas, they're a bit tricky. So I would say, because we can see after, like, I've had millions of lessons being sent out from Junglemap, a lot of people actually open the lesson the day they get it, the same hour, even quite a lot of percentage of the staff open it. And if it's a difficult dilemma, they're going to talk about it, aren't they? Did you see in today's lesson? Did you figure out what was the right answer? And being that they start to talk to each other, you have even more learning and change of behavior in the entire organization. So that's really, really great. But also use the repetition quiz, and maybe after 12 months, maybe you do need to make a repetition of the lesson dilemmas. Every dilemma in question which has been in there, you do it as one big, or maybe even, or a big test again to see, is there a change in the answers in the big test contra the original one which we sent out after 6 lessons? So it gives you possibilities to measure more, to see more about what needs you have and so on. And I mean, it's so easily done. So if you want to add something on, you just drag and drop and put it where you want it. So it's a piece of cake, really.
But if you keep sharing your screen, Donia, Hanna, I think this flexibility is of course great, but what we're looking at now is also, of course, a suggested order of taking this. Can you comment on that?
It's a suggested order. I mean, for example, the dilemmas that we have at the end of each lesson, they will reflect a previous lesson. So if you change the order, you might need to actually change the lessons too, or just be aware of the fact that there may be learning content that hasn't appeared yet. So this is like the best practice that we have to use this order, but you can choose whether you want to shorten the course a bit or prolong it with extra add-on lessons.
As I would say, like 98% of my customers, they do use the suggested method and the suggested material, and they need very, very small changes, if any at all, actually.
Donia, you mentioned also that this setup also allows the organization to get more touchdowns on results and measurement. Do you have any thoughts or suggestions on also the importance of getting the results out in the organization? I mean, you mentioned the dilemmas, creating discussions around coffee table, which is great, or lunch rooms or whatever. Can you say something about how can this be shared in the organization?
Yeah, I mean, communication is the key to everything. Yeah, we know that. Work-wise, relatives-wise, everything. It's all about communication. And I mean, if everybody knows in advance what is coming, and there is a reason for why it's not one-off thing. There's a reason for how you change your behavior, and that's scientifically proven. So if people know that I will get one lesson like this every 3 weeks, then that's what they are prepared for. And also to reinforce that, there are several things that you can do, of course, to make security organization culture, but I mean, I don't think we have the time for more than that. But yes, send it out over time. Why not have a short meeting now and then to discuss the subjects that have been sort of distributed? There's a lot of things that can be done to increase the culture, security culture in the company. And it's also different, of course. If you've been running, like some of my customers, they have been running security awareness for 4, 5, 6 years, never stopping. Maybe you want to even just simply delete the repetition quizzes and just do a knowledge test at the end. So it also depends a little bit about where you are in the process of how many years you've been running awareness for. And also, how about the management? Have the management received their management training? I mean, as a manager, you also have a need for even more information than this, because you have a responsibility, and we're talking about compliance to NIS and so on. The management course is also important. And a big success factor.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, Donia, but this webinar was focusing on the information security course for all employees. But Hanna, could you tell us, give us a sneak, not the preview, but could you tell us something about the course for managers?
Yeah, of course. The manager's course, we have developed these two together so that the content will be the content of the ISA for all will be reflected in the manager's course. Of course, all managers should take the ISA for all because they are also users and they also need to be aware of the things that all employees need to be aware of. But the manager course brings up the extra responsibility that managers have to make it easier for their employees to follow security protocols, to how they can help and support their employees.
We're about to round up this webinar. If there are any questions, inputs, or anything, please feel free to post these in the Q&A or FNS section, and we'll try to bring them up. Geir, Donia talked about security culture, and of course, awareness training is a crucial part in that. And we have more targeted courses than this. Could you say something about our course for top management? How could that relate to what we've gone through now?
It definitely relates, and going back to your question about these NIS2 and DORA and all these regulations, that really puts some accountability on the top management, which they will be responsible, and they need to think strategic around cybersecurity. So yes, they are also a individual user, so they need to have the basic awareness. But on top of that, they need to understand, okay, how do we need to plan for our own cybersecurity strategic plans going into the future? So that's what those additional training programs aim to focus on.
And if there are no more questions, but if things arise afterwards, Donia, it's just reach out to you and the other in the CSM team, right?
Yes. Every organization has their own CSM, and our task is to help you to get the most of the effect out of the system, the pedagogical thoughts about it, to help you to change the culture to be really secure. That's our job, but it's also something that all of us actually love to do, and we really care. So, contact us, please.
Great. And Hanna, maybe someone is asking, okay, when can we get going? Where are we? When will this be launched? Can you give us an idea of that?
We are in the process of translating into our standard languages, and the course will be ready during December, pretty soon, I would say.
Yeah, just around the corner before
Just
Christmas.
around the corner.
Yeah, excellent. I think we're hopefully we're provide this so that people watching this webinar and aiming for 2025 will be well positioned for a good year 2025 when it comes to awareness training. Thank you so much, all three of you, and thank you also all of you who have listened to this and joined this webinar. We'll be back as early as next week. We have one in Swedish and one in on Norwegian webinar on how to use our AI tool to better to effect measurement and get a grip of the results of the training. And that is the Swedish one is on December 4th, and the Norwegian one is on December 5th. Please join if you do speak Scandinavian, or get in touch with us if you want to know, if you're a non-Scandinavian speaker but want to know more about how you can use our AI tool. In January, we will be back with another webinar in January 22nd, where we'll look into the challenge with what you call information security fatigue, how do we balance the ongoing training without getting exhausted participants? That's a struggle that I know that many have, and we're going to look into that together with people from Jönköping University. As I said in the beginning, this webinar has been recorded, and we will share the recording with you that were registered, and you can share it within your organization if you think that more people need to hear this. And once again, thank you for joining in. Thank you, Hanna. Thank you, Geir. Thank you, Donia. And we'll be back. Bye.
Bye. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye-bye.